Welcome to Monster Men.
Oh, you like that?
I liked
It's
it.
like a Fonzie. We have a returning guest today, and I'm super excited. That's why I'm giving the Fonz. It's like 2 thumbs up, man.
Whoa.
Mrs. C. We have J.H. Moncrieff, who I am telling you right now is one of my favorite authors out there today. I swear that she is one of the best new voices in horror that everybody should be reading. And I pimp your books all the time, J.H.
Somebody has to.
If you don't know what she's written, she has written the Ghost Rider series with City of Ghosts and The Girl Who Talks to Ghosts and Temple of Ghosts. She also did Return to Dyatlov Pass, which I love that book, and Monsters in Our Wake, both with Severed Press. And I got to know her originally with when we were at Sam Hain together, when she did a book called The Bear Who Wouldn't Leave, which always reminded me of Jim Belushi as wasn't he the friend who wouldn't leave on Saturday Night Live?
Oh, the thing that wouldn't leave.
That's it. Her latest is Forest of Ghosts, which continues the Ghost Rider series, and it's set in Romania with Jackson on a tour. And luckily, this is the best part about Jay. She writes about the places she goes to, and she goes to places that Jack and I wish we could.
Oh.
But I guess we're broke, lazy, or both. I don't know. So we are going to talk to her. We're going to pepper her with many questions about the Haunted Forest of Bulgaria. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
You're so meek. Look at you.
Bulgaria.
Let me. I know we have to let you talk, but I
Did
have
I
to
say
say
Bulgaria
something.
again? Because I keep saying that. Oh, yeah. Romania. Just ignore me, people.
I got to jump in. Not only are you a great author, great person, but the episode we did with you last time is one of the most watched episodes we ever did. It's probably one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. Is it Poveglia or Poveglia?
It's Poveglia.
Poveglia Island. You told us of your adventures there, and so not only are you more interesting than us, you're braver than us because you went there by yourself. I urge anybody to go back and find the episode we did with her. It's fascinating. She shared photos with us. And then I saw a show on Amazon Prime recently where a whole bunch of people were at the island walking around, and I'm going, you guys are a bunch of wusses. My friend went there by herself. So I'm very happy to have you back. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a great introduction. Those people that were in a big group probably have permission to be there, unlike me.
That's right. You're badass. Now, when you flew from Bulgaria to Romania, because you said you went to Bulgaria first, you said there's no haunted forest here. So then you went to Romania. People might not know what the Haunted Forest of Romania is and the proper name, because I read it a million times in your book and I can't pronounce it. So I'm going to let you do that. Why don't you tell people a little bit about the history of it?
Okay, well, I figure, please, Romanians, any Romanians watching, forgive me if I get this wrong, but as far as I know, it's Hoia Baciu. Hoia Baciu.
God bless you.
Thank you. And it's supposedly the most haunted forest in the world. It's considered to be. It got its name from a shepherd who years and years and years ago vanished in the forest with his flock of 200 sheep. And none were ever seen again, apparently. So that's how this mystique started. But UFOs have been seen there. Ghosts have been seen there. The biggest thing about the forest, though, that gives it its reputation is that people don't feel well there. They feel disoriented. They feel like somebody's watching them. They feel like they're being followed. They get lost very easy. Even guides who have been working there for years still get lost. They get disoriented. Electronics don't work well. People break out in rashes. They get sick to their stomach. So there's a lot of questions about what's going on in that forest that causes all of these reactions.
This sounds like what happens when people go into my basement.
Well, hopefully your basement hasn't been tested as much as this forest. They've tested the soil multiple times. Because whenever I say this, people automatically go, oh, has the soil been tested? Yeah, they can't find anything.
Wow.
So when you went there, I want to know all about this, but like, do you enter, like I'm picturing the Blair Witch Project where they just pulled to the side of the road and walked in a trail. Do you walk in and is there a foreboding feeling when you get there, or is it just like, oh, here we are in the woods, it's a nice day?
Actually, surprisingly, I expected there to be this foreboding feeling, and I expected there to be no animal sounds, no bird sounds. Like I was really keen on that, like trying to see if there was anything abnormal. You walk up a really, really, really steep hill. That's a killer workout. So you're like, heh, by the time you get up to the top. It's pretty brutal. And I was already not feeling that great that day. I had this big dispute with the receptionist at my hotel. She was saying I hadn't paid and I thought I had, and we got in this big dispute. And I couldn't find my credit cards, and I had to leave at that time. So I was already in a panic. I was late for my guide, so I already wasn't feeling great. And we did the big walk, and then you get in there, and it's just a very peaceful forest. It just seems very peaceful. You can hear birds. There's frogs. It's very cool, though, and no light gets through. So it's very, even though it's a really sunny day, it's quite dark. But the weirdest thing is all the trees are weird. Like there's no tree that just grows straight, normal. They're all like curved, or they're in a shape of a harp, or they've got big boils on them, big, huge growths on them. There's no tree that just look like a normal tree.
Sounds like the Mirkwood from The Hobbit.
It was, that part was really weird. Like at first you feel like, oh, well, this is actually really nice. It's just a nice forest. But pretty soon you start to go, okay, this is a weird place.
So it's obviously if no lights getting in, it's a pretty dense, tightly packed trees, I assume. How big is it?
It's huge. Like apparently, like when I went back and I read my history blog posts on it before I went, it said there was this ancient Neolithic settlement there. I never saw that. Like looking back now, I'm like, where was that? How come I didn't get to see that? It's massive. And when you're in it, you don't feel like it's tightly packed. Like there's lots of space between the trees, but I guess up above the cover must be quite thick.
Right.
But while you're in it, there's lots of room to move around. You're not like trying to edge past things or anything like that. I was terrified to touch anything because there were people that came back with huge rashes all over their skin. And so I thought, well, maybe it's something, maybe there's poisonous trees, like a poison oak type of thing, or I wasn't sure.
Were you by yourself or with people?
I was with one guide, Alex from the Hoibachu Project. This is what he does. And he was pretty funny. He had like one of those electromagnetic, or what are they called? Electromagnetic.
The EMF meter?
Yeah. And right away he's like, okay, do you want me to tell you the real story or do you want me to bullshit you? I said, tell me the real story. And he just turns it off and puts it in his pocket. He goes, that's for the tourists. So, but he admits that he gets lost there, that it's very disorienting.
Does he think it's haunted?
What's that?
Does he think it's haunted?
I don't think so. He's too pragmatic, but there were certain things in the forest, like for instance, there was a green mist, like a fog, around one tree. And I said, what's that? And he said, oh, it must be humidity in the air, like making a fog around a tree.
A green fog on one particular tree.
Yeah. So I think he might be a little too pragmatic in some cases.
There is a point. You can go on both sides too far. You can believe everything or believe nothing. Did you go to that tree and like kind of run your hand through the fog and?
No, we walked pretty close to it. He was keeping me on a path, but by then it was pretty soon after I got in the forest that I started to get affected by it. So first it was my stomach. I started to feel really, really bad stomach cramps, like the kind of cramps you get when it's warning you that something really bad is going to happen.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So I was like, oh God, don't get sick. Don't get sick. Don't get sick. And then I got this like bolt of pain through my head that was really, really strong out of nowhere. And I get migraines, but not like that. Usually there's a slow buildup, a warning, and then it starts to come on. But this was like instant, like just blinding pain. So I can't remember if I told Alex that I was really, really sick or if I just sucked it up and pretended everything was fine. But I was not feeling well at all.
We know you. You sucked it up and you didn't tell him anything.
I probably didn't know. You're right.
Did you stay overnight or was this just a day trip?
This was just a day trip. I was supposed to have several hours, but because we started out so late, like he was actually late getting to my hotel as well. And then the big dispute with the woman at the front desk. we had less time than I was supposed to have, and he was so apologetic, and I was thinking, no, that's fine. That's really fine. I just wanted to get out of there so badly. And when we did get out, my headache just was gone. The second we stepped through the trees, my headache was gone.
That's interesting.
My stomach, it took about another hour till I felt normal. But thankfully, before my overseas flight back home,
Wow.
it's okay.
So you had the symptoms of what people say they feel when they go in there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, very much so. And I didn't expect it. I thought, oh, maybe I might see something, or maybe I might sense something. I didn't expect to get ill.
Were there any like older villagers who, when they asked you where you were going and you said it, they were like, no, and they crossed themselves and gave you rosary beads or any of that kind of stuff, like, in the stagecoach at Dracula at the beginning?
I wish, no, but my driver was named Vlad. I thought that was ironic.
That's perfect. That is totally perfect.
He made that up.
A very young, cool, hip guy named Vlad. It's a big name in Romania still. There's lots of Vlads. Lots of Igors, lots of Vlads.
Really?
Yeah.
Hunter, we got to go.
I want a kid named Igor.
I want a drinking game where we drink every time we meet somebody named Vlad or Igor.
Oh,
There's lots to drink in Romania. They like drinking.
Hey, so do we. This is perfect. We're Romanian, Jack.
They never drink wine.
Now, before you went there, or maybe after, did you ever? The first time I really became consciously aware of the Haunted Forest was an episode of Destination Truth with Josh Gates. Did you ever see that episode?
No.
I think that, if I remember correctly, they were flying. It looked like a World War I biplane, and the whole top of the plane came off as they were flying to the forest.
Oh.
It literally almost died. And then they got in the forest, and I think they were filming like strange lights. Not so much ghosts, but maybe something in the sky or something like that. I think that's, if I remember correctly. But I was like, wow, that place looks really eerie. Would you want to stay there overnight if you could?
As long as I didn't feel that way. Because if I can't even overstate how awful I felt. I felt you feel like you're going to die. Like, I just felt horrible physically. As long as I didn't feel like that I was going to throw up and do something else nasty, then I would. If I was in a tent the whole time going, ugh.
That's scarier than any ghost for me.
It really was. I mean, I didn't know this Alex guy. I just met him, Yeah, I'd like to go back. I'd like to see this Neolithic settlement that's apparently there. I miss that. And it's just, Romania is just such an amazing country in general. It's just such a cool place. And the village I was staying at, there's still people who believe in vampires. People won't keep dogs because they believe in werewolves. They have peacocks on their farms to scare away evil spirits. So the fact that lore and that mystery and that myth is still so strong there, I found that really, really cool.
Are there cool, like, vampire souvenir stands?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I should have brought my T-shirt down so I could lift it up. I have a T-shirt that says, a smile from Transylvania with big bloody fangs.
Oh, that's awesome.
You didn't buy a crucifix and some garlic?
We were given that. We were given a rosary and a string of garlic for the horror writers workshop that I was there for. So the first day, Hunter, you've read the book, that whole blessing thing, that actually happened. They did that, and it was they were trying to protect their town from the evil influence of people writing horror. Because they knew, funny. Yeah, they knew we were going to go to all these haunted places, and they didn't want us bringing anything back.
That's kind of similar to what I was just saying about the old people giving you rosary beads. That actually happened to you.
Yeah, with a whole bunch of Romanian priests and basil being thrown and flicked at us.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Meanwhile,
I'm not Jackson, so I didn't react the same way. I have no Baptist upbringing, so his reactions were different, but we did have that ceremony.
Yeah, the good thing about reading Forest of Ghosts, you really, and listen to you talk about it, I mean, you're putting not everything, but a lot of what happens. So you get a real feel for the location, that's part of the beauty of that series of books.
Thank you. It's one thing I always wanted to read, and I couldn't find out there. I wanted to read a supernatural mystery set in different places, kind of like X-Files, that would have something like that. But I couldn't find anything, so I wrote them.
So you were at a horror writing workshop in Romania.
Transylvania.
Listen, I apologize if I'm gushing, but you're the freaking coolest person we have ever met in our lives. You just keep. I was at the haunted island by myself. Then I was at this thing. I mean, come on. I'm dying here. We have Hunter. This is our travel agent right here.
Isn't that cool though? Isn't that like the coolest thing? That wasn't my idea, that workshop. It's a woman named Tasha Johnson created it. And I just thought that is like the coolest thing I've ever heard of. I've got to go.
Was that like a package thing? So it's like all you had to do was like sign up and everything is there for like, okay, so it's near the Haunted Forest. You were pretty close to Castle Dracula, right?
Yeah, I was on the same street.
Oh, Jesus.
Was a stagecoach riding by with like a coffin in the back?
We took a wagon to a haunted forest in Simone. So we did take a wagon, but no carriage.
Wait, how many haunted forests do they have in Romania?
That's the other thing. Everything's haunted. It's like, this house is haunted. The cemetery's haunted. Woo, everything's haunted.
If everything's haunted, is anything really haunted?
Yeah.
Well, one of the best parts is we had this Romanian writer named Igor that came one day to like sit in and learn from us, although he'd sold like something like 400,000 copies of his first book, and we're all like, you need to learn from us.
Yeah.
And his catchphrase was always, "This is shit." Stephen King, that is shit. And
yeah, sure.
Time this haunted thing comes up, he goes, "Oh, they always say that. They say everything's haunted. It's shit. None of this is true." So he disputed it all. But just like every time he said "this is shit," it was so hard not to laugh.
That's so funny.
I got
While you were there, how many haunted forests did you actually go to see?
We went to 2. The one in Simone, which is described in the book, was the one where there's a settlement that was abandoned and they don't know why. And it's the strangest thing because it's like one house is almost completely built and then the next one is a little less built. And it goes on until the one at the end is just a pillar. Kind of. So it's
That's weird.
What happened here exactly? Yeah, they don't know why it was abandoned, or that's what they told us anyways.
Right. It's probably built 10 years ago. And because it's reminded me of like Romania, the way you're describing it reminds me, like, when I was a kid, we used to go to Gettysburg. That was like a big Civil War. The whole town, it was just Civil War. I would dress like a Union soldier as a little kid with my fake musket and everything and walk all around. When I used to go there for Horrifying convention, when that was there, it was all ghosts. So it went from the history of the Civil War to this place is haunted. And even on the streets of Gettysburg, there are ghosts painted on the streets and sidewalks so you could follow where all the ghosts are. So it sounds a lot like that. So they're cashing in.
Well, yeah. I lived in Salem, Mass, and it was a popular Halloween destination when I lived there. But once the internet happened, now it's like you can't even get close to that place in October. So I think that's happening to all these hotspots.
I will say, though, with Transylvania, it's really just the souvenir. When you go to the market, there's all these souvenir stops where you can drink out of Dracula's head and, you know, there's bloody everything. There's like real Vlad stuff, like what he actually looked like. And then there's the fake kind of like Bela Lugosi type Dracula stuff. But other than that, they don't really they don't draw ghosts on anything, or they just have the sites as they are. And once in a while, you're lucky enough to find someone who will tell you their stories of working in a haunted castle and what they've seen, because there's also a very haunted building there, Castle Hasdale, I believe. And there's a huge history about that too, and we went there as well. And there were women who worked there who actually had the ghost on tape, and, you know, pianos would play by themselves and all sorts of things. So, That's cool. But if you hit the market, it's Vlad and Dracula and fangs and...
That's so cool. Now, did you get the idea to write Forest of Ghosts before or after you went there?
After, way after. But while I was there, I thought, I'm going to have to write about this someday, because it's just so cool to have been there at a horror writers retreat in Transylvania. I thought, well, I'm going to have to write this someday. But I didn't even know that Jackson or the Ghost series or anything was going to happen at that time.
It's
I
funny.
haven't met Sam Hain yet.
I'm just reading that book going, man, I know this is all what happened to her. I'm so jealous. I was so mad at you. No.
Aw.
I was just jealous.
Whenever I have friends who travel, now I know you didn't go to like a tropical place, but I'll always ask this question. Did you encounter any scary wildlife like spiders or bugs or snakes or things like that? When you go, you know, like a friend of mine was in some rainforest and he's like, I asked that question. He's like, oh my God, we're on horses. And we went through like this tree trunk that was like a tunnel and we had to bend over and there was this giant yellow spider like right by my face and everything. Everybody's like, well, answer that question with something, whether it's a spider or a bear while they were camping. Were there any kind of dangers like that or things that you saw being in a forest like that?
There was a snail that was about that big.
Oh, cool.
That was kind of gross. And we went to a bear sanctuary because bears used to be used a lot in Romania for bad things, like for advertising outside a store to bring people in and just very like sideshow type stuff. So there's all these bears and wolves in the sanctuary that have been rescued from these places and are being rehabilitated. So that wasn't overly scary because they're behind bars, but at least they're all these poor rehabilitated Romanian bears.
Could you imagine like a bear outside an ice cream shop and every time a kid goes in attracted by it, just mauls him before he ever gets in the door?
That was pretty much the idea. Yeah, more customers.
By the way, speaking of Transylvania, a friend of mine brought this back from Transylvania for me.
Yes, that's exactly what. There's so many of those in those stalls, but only in Transylvania. They don't have them.
I'm tempted to only put red pens in his head. But
I got to get one of those.
If you go to Sighisoara, that's where Vlad the Impaler was actually born, and they've turned his house into a restaurant. So you can go there and have crepes Dracula, and
they should have steaks.
They probably do, but I had the crepes and they were quite good. They come in a red berry sauce.
Nice.
And there's a waiter there that looks like Nosferatu, like just naturally. So we all had a photo taken with him. And then if you pay an extra $5, they'll let you go into where Vlad actually was born. But when you go there, they've really camped it up. There's like red lights. There's the creepy haunted house music playing on an old tape deck. There's like the statues of Vlad, and then there's the big coffin. Like, so they've really cheesed it out. But that's
how big
when he actually was born.
Was he born? Was he a man of modest means?
No, it's a huge house.
How old? Now he was around. What century was he impaling heads? 16th?
Yeah, I think so. 16th.
Can you imagine anything in America, Jack, standing for that long? I mean, our houses are almost falling apart now.
I know. I can see that becoming a restaurant pretty easily, but
that's just so bizarre that you could eat crepes in Dracula's birthplace. That makes no sense. And you did say you tried to get into his castle. Well, you said that before. I can't remember what we said this before we went on the air or off.
Before.
We did. Okay. So you did try to get in there.
Yeah, it was when I first got there, we had to drive past it to get to the inn where we were staying at. And I just was so excited about going. So we'd all just like traveled from overseas. We should have had jet lag. And I like talked a few people into like going in the dark with me to see if we could like break in to this castle at night. And we actually got through the gates and into the grounds, but then we heard people coming. So we ducked down behind this shrub and waited for them to leave. And then we were creeping up the hill towards the castle and then noticed that there were guards up. We wouldn't have actually broken in anyways. Like if the doors had been locked, it's not like we would have torn them down, but it felt like an adventure.
I could see you going in a window at the very least.
That's true. I did get when we went for real. I did talk the guide into letting us see the what was it called? Like the more off limits areas, and that's where the torture chamber was.
Oh, awesome!
That's the off limits. I figured that's where everybody wants to go.
Well, I guess it's a special tour thing where you have to book it in advance and you have to pay a lot of extra money. And he just let me in. I sweet talked him.
Aw.
Well done.
You
How
think
hard?
you and I could ever do that, Jack? Sweet talk anybody into letting us do
The
anything?
guy would charge us extra for the cheapest one. How hard is it to book a trip to Transylvania to Castle Dracula? Is there a lot of logistics involved, or is it like there's packages out there to? Because now I got to go to do this. Are you kidding me?
Will Mario Perillo get us there?
We had an awesome setup where if you book this horror retreat, it was all, there was a travel agent that worked with you and did everything for you.
Oh.
And I think she's going to have it again. She's taking a break right now, but I think she will offer it again. But Bram Stoker's nephew or grandnephew, I believe, also now does tours to Transylvania. He wrote Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing quite well. So yeah, Dacre Stoker. So he actually does these tours now as well. So
I gotta look
I don't
it
know
up.
if I should feel sad for the poor guy. I guess, you know what? If my great uncle was Bram Stoker, I'd take advantage of it too.
Hey, every horror show we go to has like Bela Lugosi's niece or Boris Karloff's daughter or something like that. So whatever it takes.
Boris Karloff's lawyer. Boris Karloff's lawyer's son at this point. And we pay to get their autographs because we're that silly.
I have no cred like that, though. I'm just a writer.
Oh, sorry. We're just fools, basically. I don't even call ourselves... I'm not a writer.
How's the food over there?
The food is interesting. It's very good, but we were staying at a farmhouse, like an inn, a big inn, but it was actually a farmhouse. So they made everything from scratch. The cheese they made, the bakery they made, everything was made from scratch. The portions were insane. Like they acted like they were feeding 100 people. So you felt horrible about that because there was no way you could ever eat everything that they put in front of you. And there was always all this food that was just going back. And it was really, really good at first, but after a while, it's like, oh, cabbage, sausage, polenta, and cheese. Oh, nice. And then the next day, oh, cabbage, sausage, polenta, and cheese. Oh, great. And then the next day, oh, fish, polenta, and cheese. Oh, nice. So yeah, every time there'd be something slightly new, we'd get all excited. But then the day after that, we'd have it again. And it'd be like, oh. So one day I would just like, do you guys want to go get pizza? And everyone's like, yeah. It was the best pizza I had in my life up to that point.
And it was Papa John's. I never thought of Romania as a polenta place. But you always think of that as like Spain, Portugal.
Big old slabs of polenta. So much polenta.
I haven't really thought of places as polenta places or not, but I'll start thinking that way.
You should. Now we know. We're going to have to prepare when we go together, Jack.
Yeah. I'm curious one thing about the Haunted Forest. So there was a lot of UFO sightings, yet when you went into the forest, you couldn't see the sky.
No.
So
not in the part where I was.
Oh, so there are parts where you can probably get out from under the canopy and...
I think there must be, because I've seen photographs, the UFO photographs, and yeah, it's not as dense as where I was, but it's a huge forest. Like, I don't know how long it would take you to do the whole thing, but more than a day, I would think.
Are they mostly like evergreen trees, or is it a lot of seasonals so that way you can have less leaf cover?
I would say seasonals. They don't look like evergreens. I'll show you guys pictures that you can run through the show, but yeah, they're weird trees. And I asked 2 different botanists if they had any explanation for this. And one of them got back to me and said she thinks that the forest was used a long time ago to make things so that people would come in and they would intentionally deform the trees as they were growing because they didn't have the tools back then to make curved wooden instruments or chairs. So she thinks that people intentionally deformed the trees to make things. But then the growth, the burls on them, though, I don't understand where that's coming from.
Right, and they test the soil, so it's not like they're finding some kind of weird mineral or radiation or anything like that.
No. And there's one of the first parts we go to is there's a huge clearing in the middle of the forest for no reason, where the only thing that grows is grass and these little tiny purple wildflowers, like nothing else, for no reason at all. I'm like, why is this clearing here? It's the most bizarre, weird thing. And it's in a perfect circle.
I was going to say, please tell me it's a perfect circle. So we know that's a UFO landing site.
No, it's where witches did ceremonies. Come on.
It's
both.
huge. Absolutely huge.
Did you make it to that part?
Yep. Yep. That's the first place that we went to, was the clearing, and then we veered off into the darkness.
The darkness. So it's weird. So you have to climb. I'm just thinking you have the logistics of it. You have to climb up a hill. Is that the only way to get to it? Is it like a forest on top of a mountain kind of?
At least that's where he went. It's sort of a lad pulled alongside and just stopped and parked the car there, and then we had to climb. We left the lad behind. Poor the lad.
Oh, he could hang out with Igor. Does it have any history like the suicide forest in Japan? Or are there any people that go there to off themselves, or no? They just disappear.
No, and it's funny you ask that, because when people hear the title of my book, they're like, oh, the most haunted forest. It's that one, the one in Japan. And I don't, like, no offense to anybody who's used it. I just don't think that's something to use as entertainment. I don't know, like, because it's not haunted. It's just really, really sad, right? Like, tons of people go there to die. It's not like, ooh, ghosts and UFOs. It's like, oh, no, this is actually really, really depressing.
Yeah, no, a dude who's just been hanging there for 3 weeks because he's depressed. Did you see that movie, The Forest?
Yes, I did.
Look at you.
I didn't see the videotape, though, with the guy that got in so much trouble for exploiting it. I haven't seen that.
Oh, my kids saw that YouTube moron.
Yes.
Yeah. They were actually fans of his, pretty big fans, and that stopped them cold. Like, nah, we don't like him anymore. Which I was impressed.
Even Return to Dyatlov, I wasn't really thinking of it when I wrote it. I definitely, I mean, I'd written blogs about the people who, met a tragic end in Russia, and I mean, I definitely felt something for them. But when I was writing the book, I never ever considered, oh, these people have families that are still alive and still want this mystery solved. And I never thought, wow, what if think I'm capitalizing on this, or what if they're offended by it? That would never be my intention. So if I'd thought about that before I wrote, I probably wouldn't have written it.
Well, I'm glad you didn't think about it, because it's a killer book. I always say that it's you read that book. No. Watch The Devil's Pass first. Jack, I'm sure you've seen it. It's been on cable a million times.
I have not.
Oh, watch that, which is a found footage Dyatlov Pass movie. And then read Jay's book and see how it should be done. It's so much better. And usually the book is always better. They should remake that movie based on your book.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to agent that right now. I'm going to make that happen.
Yay.
So no actual ghost sightings in the haunted forest.
Well, the ghost of my house. I wish I had a ghost sighting. I wish I'd seen something, but I just felt so horrible. That's the weirdest thing that happened to me, was just how I was so incapacitated, and we left, and it was just like my head was fine. That was really, really strange, I found. The green fog was strange. The trees were strange. Just a very odd place.
Your instant return to health when you leave. That's, to me, the strangest part. Because, you never know. You had a rough day. You had a tough climb up there. You don't feel well. Probably lingers. But when it just floats away.
Like a light switch.
That's kind of weird.
Well, and I don't know, do either of you get migraines?
No, I give them.
Yeah, just when I podcast with him. I've had a migraine once, or every once in a blue moon I'll have it, and then part of me is like, what is wrong with me? Oh, this must be a migraine.
Yeah, well, then that they don't just go away like that, right? Like, if you don't have serious medication, they last for 3 days sometimes. Like, they're horrible, but they don't just come on and then leave. So that was really strange.
I get so few headaches that when I do get one, I'm such a baby. I think I'm having an aneurysm. Oh my God. My head never hurts. I must be having an aneurysm. And I sit there purposely waiting and looking up, what are the signs when the aneurysm's ready to blow?
Oh,
Get that every time. But it's only like two times a year.
I hate them.
What's your next spooky destination?
I would love to go to Scotland. I would love, love, love to go to Scotland. So any Scottish writer festivals that want to bring me over,
That's right. She's going to be the one that teach you how to do it right.
I tell you what, I'd like to go to Scotland, but I think I'd just be hitting all the places where they make scotch.
Yeah, we would do the drinking tour. We'd maybe drive by Loch Ness and be like, oh, look at that
Loch
water.
Ness on the way to Macallan.
Yeah, there's a pub over there. So why don't you tell everybody about the Forest of Ghosts?
Okay, well, with Forest of Ghosts, I basically put my character Jackson. He's sort of a wannabe writer. He's done really well at blogs, and he wants to write the story of City of Ghosts, the first book. He's been trying to write this book about their experiences in China. So he decides, him and Kate are having a tough time after Egypt. She decides that this would be good for them to have a bit of a break. He should go. And so he goes to this horror writer's workshop in Transylvania, even though he's not really a horror writer, doesn't really think of himself as a writer at all, in the hopes that he'll get a break and get away from all the ghost stuff, get away from all this creepy stuff. And of course, that doesn't happen. People start going kind of crazy. People start going missing from his group. And before he knows it, he has to drag Kate into it so they can figure out what the heck's going on.
There's a lot going on in that book.
And if you haven't read any of your books, can you jump in here, or should you start somewhere else? You can jump in.
Yeah, they're all standalone. Would you agree, Hunter?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because you give enough of backstory when it needs to be given to fill in any of those gaps. You might wonder, I wonder what's going on here. But yeah, you can read each of them as a total standalone, which is not easy to do.
I try to do that because I used to read series as a kid, and I'd hate how they'd have to recap every single book. It's like, yeah, I know they were size 6 and they both had blonde hair and turquoise eyes and blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
I just hated that. So I try really hard to avoid it.
And then that book is out now, but you have another coming out soon, right? In the summer? Am I right?
June, yeah. Mask of Ghosts, the book 5.
That's pretty daring, doing both of them coming out one right after the other. I like that.
Well, people are really complaining about, it's like already people have read that book and they're like, when's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? And they read it in a day and you're like, do you know how long that took to, never mind.
Say, look, you're not George R.R. Martining them, making them wait forever. So I think that's really cool.
When he was at Stoker, George R.R. Martin, when he was at StokerCon, I was there, and everybody that I knew that wasn't there was like, ask him when he's going to finish the next book. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to corner George R.R. Martin, who's a pretty gruff, he's very nice, but a very gruff, no-nonsense kind of guy. Yeah, I'm going to corner him and demand to know when his next book is going to be finished.
I'm sure nobody else is asking him that question either.
I assume he's waiting for the finale of the show to go, oh, this is how they did it wrong. Now I know what to do. I swear to God, guarantee you that's what he's waiting.
He was hilarious, though. My friend had the nerve to go up and ask him if she could take a photo with him, and he was like, as long as I don't have to move. So he just sat in a chair, and she kind of put her arm around him, and yeah.
That's fair.
He's 78, maybe? He's up around there.
Yeah, he's older. I'm not sure how old, but he was walking around chatting to people, waiting for the bus like everybody else.
I'd be the happiest guy on earth if I was him. I mean, 78, young girl wants to put her arm around you and take a picture. I'm like, please. You and I, Jack, when we're 78, the arm around us is like, the autopsy picture. Well, again, this has been absolutely phenomenal. We love having you on here. And I can't implore people to read your books more than I'm doing right now. I tell everyone also to subscribe to your newsletter because you do a lot of great true crime and true mysteries on there. So you'll tackle a particular event and you really dig down into it. I think I've told you before that you have the best newsletter out there.
Oh, thank you.
No, I love your newsletter. It's good.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Jack reads it. Normally, he barely reads like a package of underwear, so we're impressed.
I delete many newsletters, but you got good stuff in yours.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Jack. What should I write about tonight? I've got one due tomorrow. Yes.
Your favorite horror podcasts.
Oh, that'll be a long one.
And we don't make the cut yet again. So, Everybody, go out and buy Forest of Ghosts. Please go to Bulgaria and look for a haunted forest where I told you to go and get lost forever. And then, hopefully your friends find out that it's in Romania.
Well, thanks for coming on. And you don't have to go on a trip to come on again. You can come on anytime you want.
Oh, thank you. It's been lots of fun, as usual.
All right, Jack, close it up. You know what to do.
Everybody, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time on
Monster Men.
Monster, Monster Men, Monster, Monster Men.